You're listening to the FITposium podcast, your exclusive source for information and inspiration to grow your brand and succeed as a fitness entrepreneur. Here's your host, photographer, public speaker, business coach, and the founder of FITposium, James Patrick.
That is right. This is a FITposium podcast. That's also right. I'm your host, James Patrick. Hope you guys are having an amazing week so far. Got a huge update for you guys. FITposium is now 95% sold out. I mean, we've been saying this for a while that this conference is going to sell out, and we are at the final lap. In fact, we're past starting the final lap. We're coming up on that tape across the finish line. This is your chance. Get your registration at FITposium.com before we sell out, because once we sell out, we have sold out, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Want to jump into this interview. We got this awesome interview with Billy Polson himself. Billy Polson is going to be presenting on the FITposium stage. He's presenting on our main stage, not just Saturday, but also Sunday. So you'll get 2 doses of Polson. And this is a fun interview. We talk really about what is the DNA of the fitness entrepreneur. What is the life like of the fitness entrepreneur? And we're going to talk about the questions of, is this for everyone? And what successful entrepreneurs in the fitness industry are doing, and how you, as a fitness entrepreneur, can start to look at your work, your business a little bit differently and shift yourself. This is important. Shift yourself from being the technician. I mean, that's where all of us start. We start as technicians, shift ourselves from being the technician to the owner. That's so important, guys. Really think you're going to like this interview with Mr. Polson. Before we jump into that, I want to give a few quick thank yous and shout outs to our amazing sponsors. First, it is Hybers. This is our first year working with Hybers. We're really excited to have them at FITposium 2018. They are a company, and their product gives you mental focus and explosive natural energy through hydration. Just add water, ladies and gentlemen. Hybers, it's made with real fruit, low sugar, has the best sourceable B vitamins. It's organic, non-GMO ingredients, and it's committed to giving you its healthy products, supporting your active lifestyle while reducing all that plastic polluting our oceans. Guys, head over to hybers.com, or you can get on Amazon Prime. Also, huge thank you to Legendary Foods. This is our second year working with Legendary Foods. If you haven't tried it yet, be prepared to have your jaws dropped and then quickly close because you have to chew. It is amazing nuts and nut butters, no added sugar, gluten-free, keto, low net carbs, no added sugar. And you guys are going to love their products. Check them out at legendaryfoods.com. Also, want to give you guys a heads up that next week's episode, I believe we're going to do it in next week's episode, we are going to do a breakdown, kind of a game film breakdown on everything you need to do to prepare for FITposium 2018. Because my guess is by next week, we will be completely sold out. So we want to give you everything you're going to need to know step by step, day by day. We'll do it in chronological order for you so you guys can prepare for FITposium 2018. That is it from me at the front end of the show. Now, I require you to enjoy the interview with Mr. Polson. I am super stoked. I have Billy Polson on the line. Billy, how's it going today?
Good morning. How's it going, James?
It is going outstanding. You're tuning in from San Francisco, right?
Yes, sir. A foggy morning. Our typical fog every day the last few days.
Well, I would take that over this soul-crushing heat that we have in Arizona right now. It is. Well, I think, every year around this time, I get a little faked out. I think, okay, it's finally over. Like the monsoons have come in, they've broke the heat. Fall is right here, and then another 3-digit day comes around. It's just like, come on! I thought we were through this. I actually, I'm planning my bachelor party right now, or me and my best man are planning my bachelor party, and being 35 years old, I don't really care about much of what is typical of a bachelor party. And I looked at him, I said, get me out of the heat, take me to the mountains, let's go camping where it's cold, please. So that's the plan.
That sounds incredible. Congratulations.
Absolutely. So tell me a little about you founded DIAKADI, and through DIAKADI, you have grown your brand, which is the business movement. This started back in 2004, but what was the inspiration behind this?
Yeah, first of all, I don't want to get in trouble with the Ducati motorcycles. So DIAKADI.
DIAKADI.
Yeah, just to make sure people do not think I invented the Ducati motorcycle.
Huh.
But DIAKADI. So I actually started personal training back in 1998, 20th anniversary this year, with absolutely no goals of becoming a fitness center owner or gym owner. But we were working in a tiny basement facility, and honestly, the ceiling was so low you couldn't even jump rope, and no windows. And so my partner and I, Mike, this was back in 2004. We said, we have to build something where we can jump and run, and there's literally not a low ceiling on where we can take our clients in our business. And that's how it started. So we opened DIAKADI in 2004, 100% with the goal of just having a cool place to train. Now, honestly, 14 years later, what it's grown into, we never would have ever imagined in terms of the scope of not only, so we have about 96, I think is our current count, independent trainers who run some level of their practice out of the facility. The biggest surprise to us is we knew that we would be helping them with education and helping provide them with, our goal was that they would have all of the services, all the amenities, all the education and assistance they had as a staff trainer, but in an independent training facility. So that was our goal. That was our big differentiator from day one. What we didn't realize is that on that education branch, we were going to have to educate them not only on the fitness side, but when you gather 96 brand new entrepreneurs into one facility, you have to teach them how to be small business owners. Most of us were great technicians. We were amazing trainers, programmers. We had no idea, honestly, the nuts and bolts of running a small business. So for 14 years, we've honed and tweaked and come up with a great educational skill set, or a way to pass those skills on to our 96 trainers. And that has been the catapult for, not for DIAKADI as much as all of our trainers. They've learned so much about not only how to write their business plan and plan their financials, but really how to write a clear marketing plan and take their business wherever they want. And that has been the big growing that we had no idea was going to be coming our way.
So really, this was born out of a need. You birthed this out of a need of, you saw there being a gap of, you're bringing all these trainers into your facility, but in order for you to be successful, they have to be successful. And 100%. So you create this system where it's like, let us teach you how to grow your business, how to get more clients, how to increase your revenues, how to manage yourself as a small business owner. And by proxy, then you benefit as the facility that's housing them.
Exactly. And for us, it started as grassroots. We were figuring out things as we went. And again, like I said, so we've had, over the 14 years, we've had hundreds of trainers come through the facility. So we've really been able to hone in on truly the skills, or even the tweaks that we make to our business models or to our marketing that truly make a difference for our industry. And it's been great. DIAKADI's kind of been our fitness business owner's lab for 14 years. So it's given a lot of great research. We've had a lot of lab rats that died along the way. Those were not successful ways of running a business, but we have a lot of thriving lab rats as well. Not that our folks are lab rats. For sure.
I would love to dive into that a little bit further, but I do want to call out, I loved how you're describing your first facility where the ceiling was so low that you couldn't do any workouts in. I had trained with this one trainer. This is 6 years ago, and she had rented space in this small office complex, and she had to cut holes out of her ceiling tiles because the equipment wouldn't fit into the room. And it was just like some Jimmy together little office complex in an industrial park, but yet let's just cut some holes in the insulation and we'll fit this equipment in. So.
Well, and I think a lot of facilities start that way. You make it work, and I think a lot of times we get in these office parks that they have no idea, as the building has no idea what they're getting into by leasing it to a gym. And again, a lot of us are starting like do whatever you can do to get in the door and then develop it. I mean, honestly, that's what we did even with DIAKADI. So we got in the front door. We started at 9,000 square feet, which was honestly double what we wanted. We wanted to be 5,000. We wanted to kind of start small. We couldn't find a space. We ended up finding a space for a really great rent at 9. And that, honestly, in the end, that was a huge differentiator for us, that size difference. But we were bare bones in the beginning. We did whatever we could to fill that space. We didn't have a lot of furniture. We didn't have a lot of equipment, but we had room to run and jump. And that was huge. And since then, we've expanded twice. So we're up to 14,000 square feet. And that's, if there's any piece of advice I would give to folks, like the person that you mentioned, the individual, start with whatever you can and just know that that's phase one. Like you will grow and expand and keep running towards whatever you want your ideal final goal to be. Just realize it'll happen in phases.
I'm glad you pointed that out. And I want to jump into that because so many people before they start something feel they need to be at phase 2, 3, 4, 5 before they even cross the start line. And they don't understand that to get to phase 2, you must have gone through phase 1. You cannot jump over phases in this growth process. Not even just from a financial standpoint, but from a business standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, from a mental standpoint. Like you are required to go through these phases. You are required to go through a very difficult phase 1, and then maybe a less difficult phase 2, and then maybe phase 3 gets more challenging again before phase 4, where it's the big success. Like you have to have this process.
Definitely. And I think a lot of people, not just in the fitness industry, but a lot of people freeze if they don't feel like they are able to create their ideal product from the very first go. And they'll freeze and say, well, I'm just not going to do it. And I'm here to tell you, do whatever you create that vision for sure. Create the ideal vision that you want it to be, the most unbelievable list of equipment and how you want the facility to look. But if you're only able to maybe achieve half of those original goals on day 1, then at the end of it, maybe 3 years in, 5 years in, you'll be able to finally start chipping away at the rest of that list. The perfect idea, the perfect example, at DIAKADI, we wanted giant roll-up doors so we could go outside and do outdoor, indoor workouts and kind of have this great outdoor access. Our first facility was only on the 2nd floor. So there was absolutely no way we missed that one. We totally missed that goal. But when we expanded down on the ground floor, and we have these huge roll-up barn doors that we can go in and out now. And we got there. It was phase 7, but we finally got there. So keep that original list in your mind, and you'll get there.
I like that. You know, I could say the same thing for photo studios that I've been a part of. Like my first studio was literally in an office, and it barely had enough height for what we needed. And we had to kind of like shoot around this one door, and it was very awkward and uncomfortable, but we made it work for years. And then about a year and a half ago, we found this new space, and now it's all we need in space. And it's like, okay, now we're already thinking about what comes next. Like you work through it in different chunks. And, you know, even with starting a business, like I look at it where, you know, if I wanted my first articles to be perfect, I never would have launched a blog, or my first podcast, I never would have put out this podcast. I just had a new podcast hit iTunes yesterday, and I wasn't ready for that. I was just like, I forced myself. I'm like, all right, I keep saying I want to do this. I've already recorded a few episodes. I'm just going to sync this up. And then within 12 hours, iTunes approved it. I'm like, all right, now I'm in. Now let's go.
Congratulations.
Now we do it. Yeah, we make it
That's
happen.
huge.
But
you know what's...
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was going to say, you know what the funny side of what we're talking about, that idea of freezing in the beginning, the other side of it is our work is never done. As a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, in my opinion, your work is never done. Just as you said, the second that you guys expanded into that new facility, you celebrate, you have a bottle of champagne, and boom, the task list starts building for the next development or expansion. So that's a perfect reason as well. Never try and have everything perfect on day 1, because you're always going to expand. If you're going to be successful, and the most successful you possibly can be, there's always a million iterations that you're going to expand and develop into heading down the road. So that's kind of the other side of looking at that. You're never going to be done. Trust me.
Yeah. And I think that's an important thing to touch on, is that the work is always continued. There's always a new line to cross. I want to step into, before we go too far away from it, to really dig into the DNA, because you created something with your trainers through your facility that is very rare. Okay, there's a lot of people who start gyms and there's a lot of people who take on trainers, but I don't see a lot of trainers offering these insights, offering this knowledge base, offering this training for the people who they're collaborating with. So I'm curious, like, was there something from your background that made this important to you? Why was this something that kind of jumped up and said, no, this is something you need to do, Billy?
So my degrees in statistics, I was originally a computer programmer by day and was doing fitness in the evenings. So when I made the decision that I was absolutely not going to sit behind a computer anymore, I was going to follow my passion and figure out a way to make money at it. I knew when I headed in that direction, I didn't want to head back into like a staff job and like join Crunch or Equinox or something. So my very first gig as a trainer, I would work before the computer job in the morning. I would train 2 clients, and I'd train 2 clients in the evening as an independent trainer. So all I've really ever known is life as an independent fitness professional. Whenever we decided to, and then eventually I was able to leave the computer job. I cut down to 3 days computers, 2 days fitness, and slowly transitioned. So as I built my independent practice, I realized the power of being able to run your own ship. Honestly, I say that was the first time that I truly began to love work and began to look forward to getting up every day and running towards whatever goals that I wanted to set for the ship or for my business. So whenever I opened DIAKADI, 2 things. One, I knew that I wanted everyone in that facility to have the same empowerment, to have the same level of responsibility, and to have the same joy and vibrant enjoyment every day of their work. So I built a facility that would have all independent trainers. I knew that that's what I wanted. The other thing is I was seeing a lot of staff gyms where the staff trainer would go up the ranks and they would get to the top of the ranks of where the top of a trainer could go. And they would be so experienced and so successful in that company, but they were stuck. They either had to go into management or they hit the ceiling on where they could be as a trainer. So then they would leave and they would start their own practice. And so all their best, most powerful advanced trainers were heading out the door. So I did not want to open a facility that had a ceiling for anyone. And that's why I joke about we had a low ceiling in our first facility, or in the one where we were working. So when we opened it, I wanted it to be as far as you wanted to run and go. And that has proven successful for me for sure. And we have a lot of trainers that come in our door because they hit that ceiling as a staff trainer. And they're like, I don't want to stop there. I want to be able to make $180 an hour. And I'm definitely not going to be able to do that in my staff job. So they leave with all their advanced education and knowledge and come into DIAKADI, and then they can run and jump as high as they want with that business. So that was our number one, I would say, goal for the business model that we decided on. And you're right, there aren't very many, especially at the size and scope we have, there are very, very few independent training facilities, as far as I know, in the world at the numbers and the size that we have. There's one in San Francisco. There's one down on the peninsula named Evolution Trainers. A great person named Ashley Selman runs that one. And that's an independent facility as well, but there are not a lot of them at the size and scope we have. The other thing is I wanted all those independent trainers, if they had been on staff and they had had full benefits, like I mentioned, of having all the free education and having all the assistance of getting clients and having all of the support network that they possibly could want as a staff and team member, I wanted all of that vibe and energy and assistance to be in an independent training facility. So they had all of the support and love and community and assistance building their ideal business without any of the ceilings or any of the rules or regulations that fell under being a staff trainer. And my vision was then you would get some responsible, passionate, work-loving folks that would run with it, and they would expand and we would expand. And it luckily paid off. It really brought together Honestly, I'm so fortunate of the fitness professional, the group of fitness professionals I work with every single day. They're the set of some of the most educated, goofiest goofballs I've ever met in my life, and I love laughing and learning with them every day. So that was my goal, and I'm so happy that that paid off.
Do you think, as you were starting this started as a side hustle for you? Do you think that sort of experience is important for others to have to start to grind it out first and have those multiple things that are pulling your energy and attention so you see what's important?
It's almost a test, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's your first exam you have of will you be able to survive as a business owner? 100%. I always say that most of us, when we do first get started, and whatever type of small business you're running, whether you're doing it as a side gig or you jump into getting a facility, most of us are usually doing 2 double overtime jobs on day one. Like, you are running and gunning. You're a perfect example. If you're a trainer and you open a facility, most of the time on day one, you are doing a full-time training schedule and a full-time management and facility owner ops schedule. So yeah, you're doing the double time in the beginning. And of course, the end goal is to figure out how to reduce that. And that comes with the growth in phase 1 through 7, right? Exactly, kind of back to what we were talking about. But yeah, it's tough. It's a grind.
I don't think they teach that though in school, and I don't think that's part of something that really you see until you see it because you're dealing with it. Which is, when I thought about being a photographer in college, no one told me that being a photographer meant that I had to be my own sales manager, that I had to run my own accounting books, that I had to do client relations, that I had to all the things that come that I had to take my own trash out, right? I'm the sanitary engineer of my own company. This is not told to us, but then once we get into it, we realize that there's so much more to be done. Like you said, the work never stops.
100%. 2 things I'll say. There's an excellent book by Michael Gerber, E-Myth. I think it's E-Myth Revised. I think is the title. I did not have the fortune of reading that before I started this, but it is an excellent book for folks who are thinking, do I have what it takes? What are all the skills that I need? And what will be the responsibilities I'll have as a business owner? It's an excellent book. The first half of the book really helps, again, service providers or technicians that are thinking about opening their own business. It truly helps you understand exactly what we're talking about right now. What will be the level of responsibility and what you'll be having to do in terms of cleaning toilets and running financial statements and customer service and all those hats that you'll wear. So I highly recommend that book. The second half of it's more about franchising, which it's appropriate. It's cool, but it's an excellent book. The other thing, what we do at DIAKADI, we've come up with for our interns. So we have an intern program called the DIAKADI Next program. We take them through an exercise where it lists out all the business skills and responsibilities that a person would have as a small business fitness professional, business owner. And they go through and rate themselves. Is that a strength or is that a challenge for them? And they discover, 1, how to focus on the strengths. 2, if it's a challenge, then they are responsible for figuring out a way that as a business owner, they will get that job done. Will they form a partnership? Will they hire it out? So that really helps them, again, have a clear picture of exactly the direction they need to go. And I'm happy to share that list with listeners if it's helpful for them. It's a fun exercise for all of us to do.
Yeah, I would love to see that list, and we can even certainly post that in our show notes.
Right.
I think you hit on something really, really important, which is people need to know where their strengths are. They need to know what they excel at, what they're the best at. And by contrast, knowing what they're not good at. And you're right, having a plan for that. Maybe that plan is to, maybe it's to get a little better at it or to be competent at it, or maybe it's just to outsource it. Like there are certain things that I am really bad at doing. Well, I don't do those things anymore. Like I'll give you, the example of web design. Like, when I started, I designed my own website for my business, and it looked like I designed my own website. And that was not in my best interest. I was trying to save money. It is not in my best interest for me to design my own website. Now, I understand web analytics and SEO and web optimization. I understand the marketing of it because I worked in marketing for a few years. but I don't understand the design aesthetics of it, and I couldn't make it look good. So I hired someone to do it, and it's like now I never have to worry about that again. It is taken care of, and I can focus on my strength, which is my artwork or my storytelling. Like that's my strength right there. And you're right, people need to be aware of what that is. I was curious, you had mentioned the E-Myth. I think it's I do think it's the E-Myth revised, which is I would say one of the top two. I read it earlier this year for the first time, and I would say one of the top two books I've read this year, but probably overarching. Another one that just blew my mind, and I'm curious if you've read it, was Profit First.
I've heard about it, and at the IDEA convention, one of the speakers mentioned it. So luckily I get to divide who is in charge of what at DIAKADI between myself and my business partner, Mike. And Mike is in charge of financials. So I put that book on Mike's reading list.
Yes.
But 100%, I've heard incredible things about it.
That book scared me. Like I know when a book's good when I get nervous reading it, because I realize I need to change something, because this opens something that has been a black box for me for so long. And I now see what this looks like because it was so spelled out so eloquently.
Definitely.
You had mentioned something a little bit ago that, you have to love the work you do. Now, you have so many people coming into your facility, and you see right away the individuals who love what they do. And I just kind of want to explore that a little bit more. Like, there's some sort of grit that is required to start your own business, but grit, I think, falls secondary to that love and that passion for the work. I'd love for you to expand on that a little bit more about what you see when they want to do this, they want to get into the fitness industry, they want to work in service of others.
Most definitely. And with two of the things you just said, one, I 100% agree. It starts with passion. Just the exact same reason that I got up from that horrible computer terminal and in that terrible cubicle that I was in for 7 years. My passion was in fitness, and so I started in that direction. The second thing is they have to have an intelligent plan. 100%. You have to create that vision and that plan. Then, as you just said, it's gritty problem-solving skills that they have to not run. It's just like the black box that you just talked about, the fear factor of whether it be financials or competitors. You have to run at your fears and be a problem solver and honestly enjoy solving those problems. That is one thing I feel fortunate I took from my statistics degree, is just being a problem solver. I love solving problems. And then I honestly believe if you have the passion and the plan and the gritty problem solving skills, and then you're committed to at every point along the way to try and exceed expectations. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of trainers or fitness professionals will plateau if they don't have that last piece, which is you're constantly, every single day, you're looking at every aspect of your business. Like, let's say if you're a personal trainer, you start with your intake process. How can your intake process exceed expectations and go above and beyond anything else that they would find in your market? And maybe that means that it's an electronic one, that you're using a Google form or a typed form, SurveyMonkey. Maybe it means that it's well branded, and the look and feel and the design of it is what stands apart. You need to go through every single element of your business and figure out, is there a way, are you baselining it, or are you exceeding the expectations of exactly what your customer would expect to find? Honestly, that is one of the truly defining moments, I think, for DIAKADI is, just as I said, every moment that we could to try and exceed what they thought they would find in an independent training facility as a customer or as a trainer, we tried to go above and beyond. And I think that is a key element in being the most successful business owner that you can possibly be. I honestly believe that.
What is going on? I apologize for jumping in on that. I know you guys are absolutely loving the knowledge that Billy Polson is dropping. I cannot wait to see this guy on stage. We will get right back to that interview in a second. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, I got to pay some bills here. So I want to do a couple live reads for you. First off, I want to give a huge shout out to Tracy O'Malley. If you have not heard the podcast we did with Tracy O'Malley, go back a few episodes, listen to it. You're going to learn all about this powerhouse entrepreneur, transformation coach, keynote keynote speaker and author. I mean, she has facilitated the breakthroughs and changes in thousands of people all over the world. And she's coming to FITposium, and she's offering her coaching services to you, ladies and gentlemen. She's going to help you tackle limiting habits, tough transitions, and she'll help you to create those shifts that result in emotional, physical, and financial freedom. Check her out at tracyo'malley.com. Also, a huge vote of thanks to Lifetime Fitness. Lifetime Fitness, they have over 130 locations in 38 major cities in the U.S. and Canada. And guys, if you haven't been to a Lifetime Fitness yet, it's not just a gym. It's an athletic resort. It's an experience. Going to Lifetime Fitness is an experience. It will provide you with comprehensive, healthy living, healthy aging, healthy entertainment experience. It goes beyond fitness to encompass the entire spectrum of daily life for individuals, couples, and families of all ages. So check them out. See if there's a Lifetime Fitness in your area. Go on in and, hey, let them know FITposium sent you. All right, guys, without further ado, back to the interview with Mr. Polson. I really like that. And I want to segue that into what we were talking about a little bit earlier, which is you don't need this all when you start. You have to start somewhere. You have to get going because you need to see what works and what doesn't work. And you'll never know what works and what doesn't work until you start. Like, let's say you want to launch a blog. You will not know what is going to be good for your audience or what's not until you put stuff out there. But man, once you get stuff out there, then you pay attention. What's getting read more? What's getting open more? What titles are working more than other titles? Is there a certain, when I include photos, do people seem to enjoy it more? When I include audio, do people seem to, and that now you know where the baseline is because you've measured it. And now you can work to exceed expectations. You just do it piece by piece. And like doing a client intake, that's outstanding. Like what a great place to look and be like, oh, well, let's look at how we take in a client for the first time. And then maybe it's, let's look at what our follow-ups with our clients look like, or let's look at like what a 3-month debrief looks like. And you can have all these different elements within your business to go beyond the basic service, because people pay for the basic service. But when you give them all that stuff that you almost can't even write down on paper, when you give them all these little extra experiences or touch points, that creates such a higher resonance with an audience.
Most definitely. And one of the things that you kept circling around is, again, another key concept is the idea of research. Like as an entrepreneur, small business owner, you have to research throughout the process. Before you even get started, you need to do really deep research into your industry, into your competitors, into your skill sets. You have to constantly be looking at that. Then, as you said, as you try things, you can't just try them and think, well, I hope that worked. Use your analytics. Make sure that every single website you have, everything you have is linked to Google Analytics. Make sure you're using the insights for all of your social media. As you try new things, constantly check to see analytically, did they do what you wanted them to do? It is a research paper at every point of the way as a business owner. You're constantly doing research and then tweaking and calibrating exactly what you're doing to try it again and research it again. And again, that's the ongoing process of you're constantly testing all of your problem solving skills to see if they're working and then tweaking and moving on and testing again. And I'll say a lot of that stuff, that's a little sneak peek of exactly what I'm going to be talking about at FITposium this year. A lot of the skills that I'm really trying to wrap around are that idea of research and calibrate.
For those listening, they're going to be on one of two sides of the fence. There are going to be people who listen to that and say, all right, I'm ready. How do I find the numbers? How do I find the analytics? Like I was talking to, I'm in a mastermind. I was talking to my accountability partner last night, and all we were talking about was number forecasting, and it got me fired up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love these reports and these algorithms that you're using to project where your business is going. Like, tell me more about that. Like, I got obsessed with it. Like, and it's not just even from a numbers perspective, like researching the industry, like knowing what it is to train with someone, as a trainer, what it is to build that business. Like, I read about a book a week. Like, to me, that's part of my research. Like, I devour information. You have to have that hunger, and that hunger comes from that passion. Now, the people on the other side of the fence are going to be like, oh boy, that sounds arduous. That sounds difficult. And I'd be nervous to be that person on the other end of that fence.
If you were trying to be a business owner, for sure.
Yeah.
100%. As you said, you have to have a thirst for it. It has to be something that you are so excited to run towards every day. One of the things you mentioned in terms of the forecasting and looking at your competitors, I almost every time I speak or like talk to fitness professionals, if you ask them what their top 3 competitors are, if you ask, like 90% of the time when I ask any fitness professional, who are your top 3 competitors? It's a big challenge for them to list them, and they should be able to know them within 3 seconds, in my opinion. You should have a constant eye on your competitors. I always say it's like Michael Corleone, like keep your friends closer, your enemies closer. It is the idea of knowing every single inch of their business, what they're doing well, where are your missed opportunities, what do you need to be capitalizing on in order to catapult ahead of them. So again, it's that research, it's that knowledge of who your competitors are, in order to then calibrate, in order to then adjust your business to come ahead of them. I recently, in doing some research for FITposium, I went onto the Yelp page in Phoenix for personal training. I did a search. If you search for personal training on Yelp for the Phoenix area, 876 entries come up for that market. It is saturated, and that it's the same in every big city. So you have to know who you're truly competing against and how you're differentiating in order to stand out in front of that. You have to.
Yeah, that is so important. And then to have that sort of awareness as well, to also know who's not your competitor, because I feel like, especially in our industry, maybe we sell ourselves short and we're competing against people we shouldn't be competing against. Like, don't be shy to raise the bar and say, maybe the person who trains out of their basement is not my competitor. Maybe it's the person who just opened their first gym. Like, that's my competitor. Okay. And I'm going to look to see what they're doing. And I look at that as a photographer, like I don't look at a single photographer in the state of Arizona as my competitor. I'm looking at, there's a photographer in LA who I've been gunning for, like the type of work he's doing, the clients he's doing. Like, I'm starting to edge into some of his clients, but I look at it in a very friendly way. Like, I very much admire his work. I love what he does. He's a brilliant artist, but he's my competitor. I'm gunning for what he does, because he does things that are really smart, and I do things differently that I think are really smart. And that's like, that would be my encouragement to people, is like, don't be afraid to raise the bar on who you think your competition is, because you can learn a lot from them.
Most definitely. And you mentioned something that I think is common, and that happens at DIAKADI as well, that people are like, oh, I'm too nice of a person. I'm not really competing against them. And yeah, I'm not trying to say that you hate them and you're trying to like take them down. You are just truly trying to define who you are. And I do recommend for folks, if you're trying to figure out who your competitors are, focus on one, define exactly who you are as a fitness professional, whatever your career is. What are your skills? What are your skills based on your education experience? And what are the things you truly enjoy doing? So think of it in that side. Then look at your client. What are their challenges and goals and needs? As you mentioned, for your competitive photographer that you're talking about, those clients that he has, exactly what are the challenges and needs of that client? Then mash those together with your skills and what you love doing. Come up with your true, maybe your brand or your differentiators for your practice. Then start researching who else has a similar brand and similar differentiators as you, and those will be your first competitors that I would look at. And like you said, it's not always a local thing. Like, look not only in terms of truly your competitors, but also look at your industry leaders. What are they doing? What can you be inspired by in their projects, or whatever their visions, or where they're taking their companies? How can that be inspiration for what you can then do for your ideal client?
And there's a lot of fun ways that you can start to do research on your competitors. For example, you can talk to your competitors' clients. You can talk to your own clients, and you can ask very provoking questions like, what was the deciding factor of why you chose to work with them? Why do you choose to stay with them? What do they offer that you feel you cannot get anywhere else? What is unique about your experience with them? And it's not, and the idea is not to copy your competitors, not at all.
No.
It's to understand what is working in the marketplace right now and really understand what clients are responding to, because then you'll look at your own business. Like every single year I've owned my photography business, I've done a SWOT analysis on my business. And every year I come up with an idea, and I don't do it in order. I start with my strengths, then I'll list out my weaknesses, strengths and weaknesses being internal to my own company or myself. Then I look at threats. I skip opportunities. I look at threats. Threats are external. Are there any threats? Is the economy struggling right now? Is there more competition in the marketplace? Are clients going out of business? Are there new technologies that are, whatever, threats? But then I look at those three and I step back, and I've already talked to people about competition, and I stay in tune with what others are doing in the industry. And then all of a sudden I start to write out opportunities. It's the last thing I write out. And the opportunities that come to me, that's how FITposium was birthed. Was through SWOT. That's how my podcast was born. That's how my ebooks that I've written were developed. It was every single time it was through doing that SWOT analysis. And with FITposium, it was like so many of my clients, I would look at this, and I'm like, so many of my clients are struggling to move forward in their careers. Well, let's build something to help them. Much like what you did with your facility. Like, we see people are struggling to advance their careers. We see people hitting a ceiling, literally and emotionally, and in business. Let's develop something to help them break through this. So I had a big question for you, and this is one, and it might not be an easy answer, because we've been talking about phases, and once you get through phase 1, you go through phase 2, and now you're phase 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is there any point that you ever make it, or any point that you not that you maybe stop, but that you actually celebrate that, yes, I've made it, I'm successful? Like, with always moving the goal line, that can be a really difficult challenge. How I'm just curious how you balance that.
I will be the first to admit that it is very tough for me to ever stop and let the celebration go beyond, again, a bottle of champagne. Because I love building things. I can't help it. It is a weakness. And in a lot of ways, it's a weakness in terms of not being able to maybe slow down. However, I'm doing what I love to do. And I'm also, I think it's a strength if you are truly trying to be a small business owner and to be the most successful fitness entrepreneur that you can be. It is something that is very important to stop and take like those beats and just think, okay, we've done it. And that kind of calming and that enjoyment of taking pride in what you have built is so important. And I do try and do that, but I literally am probably in the back of my head as I'm drinking that champagne, making up the next list of items that I want to do. And again, I think a successful entrepreneur is always looking to achieve and to build new things. I think those are two of the key elements. And I think that is what constantly drives us to do the next thing. On top of that, I'll say one last thing. I do think it's really, really important to completely shut off. There are definitely a lot of benefits to shutting off that treadmill and that crazy hamster wheel of constantly producing in order to replenish yourself, in order to truly find some creative space where you're sitting on a beach and laying in a hammock and you're just able to dream big and not really be running. So, and that's one thing I do recommend for small business owners. Set aside weekly, for sure, set aside some creative time and focus time to truly focus on your business. I think that's one of our big weaknesses as fitness professionals. We just keep, especially as a small, like an independent trainer, small business owner, you just keep running. And actually, Michael Gerber in eMyth, he says it. He says it's the idea of working on your business, not in your business. So do take time for that creative side of being creative and thinking of new stuff, and then take the big checkout time laying on the beach in Hawaii to truly disconnect and unplug. I think those are super important for sure.
It's such a delicate balance, but one that needs to exist. Most often our first inclination is, if I only work a little harder, if I only grind out a little bit more, if I only push a little bit more, if I only get these 5 more clients or whatever it is, then I can relax, then I can celebrate, then whatever it is. And the truth is that we just, when we get to that space, we just keep grinding a little bit harder and a little bit more and a little bit more. And it is important to take that time, as you said, to dream big, to replenish, because if you're in the thick of things, you will never see above the weeds. You'll never see what opportunities lie out there. You need your brain to kind of relax and reset a little bit and replenish. Like my fiance and I just did this a couple weeks ago, where we're slam busy. We're in the middle of 6 launches simultaneously, and we decide, all right, well, let's actually take a weekend where we don't bring our computers, we don't hook up to the internet, and we brought pens, papers, and a big whiteboard. That's all we brought with us. And we just sat there. We just thought, where do we want to go in a year? Where do we want to go in 5 years? Where do we want to go in 10 years? And we just I love what I call marker meetings. And marker meetings it's hard to write in fine detail with a marker because it's so thick. But you can write big ideas with a marker. So marker meeting. So you did a marker meeting, and we projected stuff, and we created stuff, and we set a vision for where we're going to go. But that never would have happened if we just kept our heads down and just kept working. So it's a balance. But to get back to the question I asked you, you said 2 words that I think answered it, which was, I said, how do you know if you made it? And you said, well, I love building. And the word love was in there. And that goes back to one of the first things we talked about when we started this interview. You have to love what you do. And if you love what you do, then by doing it, you're re-energized and re-motivated. You're constantly refueled by the work you're doing because you love what you do.
100%. And I always tell our trainers, what we get to do as fitness professionals, how could we not love it every day? We're truly empowering individuals with finding success and living their happiest, healthiest lives and giving them glow and sending them out. How could we not love that? If the day that you or any fitness professional or myself, that I wake up, that I'm not excited to jump out of bed, that I'm dreading going into the gym, 100% something needs to be tweaked, because there's absolutely no reason for that. It could be something as simple as changing your client schedule so that you're not doing 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day and doing a giant split. It could be that one client like Kevin Smith that literally gets on your last nerve and you just need to find a new home for Kevin with another trainer. And whatever that is, you have got to tweak it, because if you are not truly happy and you don't have that glow that you can just spread and share with everyone, then you can never be the best coach, and you can never be the best leader and business owner that you need to be. You'll always be below 100%. So you have to take care of number one. I call it being selfish, or your selfish sunrise. Like, honestly, take care of number one first thing in the morning. Make sure you are taking time for yourself and doing your workouts and whatever you need to do to replenish every single morning first thing, so you can head into the day at 100%.
It's your responsibility as a business 100%. Owner to do that. You take care of yourself, you'll be replenished, then you can take care of your clients even better. Billy, that was so perfect. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. I am so excited for your presentations this year.
Definitely. I can't wait to get down to that heat.
Oh my God.
I'm excited to see you guys.
October will be perfect. There's no better time to be in Arizona. So Billy, where can people go to find out more about you and everything you're doing right now?
Definitely. Check us out. Check out our website, thebusinessmovement.com. There are some great podcasts of our previous presentations. There are also some great blog content. Also, follow us on Instagram. Starting September 15th, we've created what we call Fitness Entrepreneur 101. It's an online guided study tour for people to write their business, financial, and marketing plans. Starting September 15th, we're going to release a little bit of a Cliff Notes teaser version of all the business movement, the business plan chapters, 9 of those guys, once a week on our Instagram. It's at businessmovement.com, at businessmovement for Instagram. So check those out. And if anything else, all that you guys need, don't hesitate to message or call. We have a free hotline on the Business Movement website. Whatever you guys need, let me know.
Billy, one of the things I appreciate so much about you is how much of yourself you give to others. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Most definitely. Thank you, James. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you guys.
Likewise.
Thank you for listening to the FITposium podcast. For further information on our annual conference and online education network, please visit FITposium.com.